Okay, people, as promised, I am coming back to you with another video. We're doing part two of this, I don't know, maybe 10-part series. I don't know. Now, it's probably going to be a 3-part series at least. So this is part two of, of the top 15 things that was discovered around the world. Just mysteries, just really crazy mysteries. If y'all seen part one, y'all know it was some crazy stuff there. So we're going to start with part two. So remember, comment, rate, subscribe. I'll need y'all to do that for me. Let me know what y'all really want to see. I could do reaction videos on anything. For real. Alright, let's get to the show.
Bedlam burial ground of East London. You've most likely heard of the word Bedlam. In the past, this term was used to describe an institution meant to care for the mentally ill. To this day, this word continues to remind people of the tragic things people with mental diseases had to endure.
Karen, I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Throughout the history of mankind. Thousands of skeletons were discovered in a construction zone at Liverpool Street Station. What's tragic is the fact that they were people who were buried in what was once known as the Bedlam burial ground. All of them perished from 1569 to 1738. At the time, Bedlam, formerly known as Bethlehem in the New Churchyard, was a site where more than 20,000 Londoners were buried. Many of these people were mentally ill and couldn't afford a church burial. By 1737, the burial site was already filled to the brim. It wasn't long until residents of Broad Street buildings petitioned to halt the use of the site as a burial ground. Experts claimed that they would like to examine the remains in the area to obtain a sample of the bacteria that caused the bubonic plague. I just hope that they don't accidentally unleash the deadly disease.
And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. They're going to accidentally unleash something. They always do. Always.
Number 7. 180-million-year-old fossil. In January 2022, experts unearthed a massive fossil of a sea dragon in the United Kingdom. With its dolphin-like head and its shark-like body, this sea...
See, there was dragons. You see what I'm saying? A sea dragon. A sea
dragon roamed the oceans of our planet about 200 million years ago. This so-called sea dragon is actually an ichthyosaur, which roughly translates to fish lizard in ancient Greek. If you ask me, scientists gave these
Godzilla in the making.
These guys an incredibly fitting name. These creatures thrived during the Mesozoic era, but many of them disappeared 90 million years ago. In the early Triassic epoch, these creatures evolved into other creatures to adapt to the changing planet. The remains of the monster discovered beneath a nature reserve in England measured a staggering 33 feet. Just imagine if these carnivores were still alive today. Number 6.
Wouldn't nobody be swimming in the oceans? No more beaches. I know I wouldn't be there.
Troll under the bridge. For people living in Washington, this might not be something new. Recently, this attraction garnered the attention of people on the internet. Not a lot of people know about it.
Now, did y'all see that new movie called Troll? Where it was something just like that. People just thought it was a hill or whatever. That thing get up and start walking.
And it's
Remember, you heard it from me first. If that happens, you heard it from me.
Conspicuous location might be one of the things to blame. Beneath George Washington Memorial Bridge in Seattle, Washington, is a massive 18-foot tall troll made of concrete. One of its eyes isn't visible anymore, and in one of its hands is a vintage Volkswagen car. This troll has been in the area since 1990. It was sculpted by Steve Badanis and 2 architecture students, Will Martin
Sure it was.
and Ross Whitehead. You probably think this troll looks a bit gnarly, and it's most likely because it's been the subject of vandalism for the past few decades. After all, who would be able to resist spray painting a massive troll? Fortunately, it was easy to cover
Somebody just had to touch it. You see that?
up the layers of paint by dumping a batch of concrete onto its surface. But because of this constant cover-up, the troll has pretty much lost its original form. Number 5. 2,000-year-old middle-class home.
Uh-oh. Middle-class home. Who you think lived there?
Although it's less noticeable and important today, social class is something that will continue to exist. In ancient Rome, there was a social hierarchy with clear divisions. This order was meant to separate the elite from those in the lower class. Families and individuals were ranked differently based on their wealth and their jobs. Slaves were considered the lowest class in ancient Rome.
I'm not going to say it.
Instead of people, they were seen as commodities. In fact, people who were considered slaves had no personal rights, and they were treated as properties of their masters.
Sound like today.
They were sold, bought, and openly mistreated. This morbid and cruel fact is known by many. But have you ever wondered how middle-class families lived in ancient Rome? A recent discovery allowed us to get a glimpse of the past. Archaeologists discovered several homes in Pompeii. They belonged to middle-class families, and the findings revealed that they lived rather comfortably. One of the homes had a bedroom and a storage room on its lower floor. Unlike people in the lower class, individuals in the middle class had the luxury of owning beds and wooden chests.
So the lower class couldn't own a bed? Couldn't just build one on your own? I guess you couldn't own it, though. They wouldn't let you. A lot of things people wouldn't let me.
Hopefully, excavations in the future will reveal more about how people in Pompeii lived thousands of years ago. Number 4. Earliest known Mayan calendar and Guatemala pyramid. Around the 6th century AD, the Mayan Empire reached its peak. It was one of the most renowned civilizations in Mesoamerica before the Spanish conquest in the 16th century. This civilization excelled in a lot of things, including agriculture, pottery, writing, mathematics, and art. They settled across the Yucatan Peninsula and the area now known as Guatemala. Archaeologists have already managed to discover a lot of things about this empire, but recently they uncovered one of the most impressive artifacts left behind by the Maya, their oldest known calendar. The Mayan
Shooky now. Oh, if I could discover something like that. That's my lottery ticket.
Calendar was one of the renowned systems used in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. It was among the many methods people at the time used to track time and the movement of the heavens. The oldest Mayan calendar.
Now you know they're trying to cut out the Mayan calendar, right? You know who's doing that, right? So they're trying to cut out the Mayan calendar and change daylight savings time and a lot of different things.
Was discovered in a pyramid in Guatemala. It possibly dated back to around 100 BCE, but there's a chance that it's much older. Unlike the Gregorian calendar, which is the system that we use today, the Mayan calendar had no months. Instead, it relied on the movement of the planets, the sun, and the moon. Days are represented by glyphs, and they're numbered from 1 to 13. Yes, unlike us who fear the number 13, it was considered significant for them. Dates were something like 8 star, 9 jade, and so on. Overall, the Maya had a writing system that consisted of about 800 glyphs, so telling the time and day at the time was a little harder than how we do it now. Even so, their system was incredibly astounding, as it was one that gave importance to their beliefs.
I like how they built them cities, though, them temples and everything. That is some cold stuff.
And rituals. Number 3. Mysterious sarcophagi beneath the Notre Dame Cathedral. On April 15, 2019, a terrible disaster occurred in Paris, France. That day, a fire broke out beneath the roof of one of the most iconic buildings in the country, Notre Dame. Shortly after the
That's where the hunchback lived.
fire was extinguished, restorations immediately began. But while the centuries-old cathedral,
Which was a true story, by the way. There was a hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm going to find that video for y'all.
was being restored and reconstructed, astonishing discoveries began to reveal
Well, at least that's what they tell me. I don't know. I wasn't there.
themselves. 2 lead sarcophagi were recovered from an ancient graveyard beneath the cathedral, and for years, experts couldn't do anything but make an educated guess about the identity of the people inlaid in them. It wasn't until
That lady looked like she didn't have no clue, didn't she? Like she was just baffled.
2022 that archaeologists released a comprehensive description of the entombed. One of them was a priest named Antoine de la Porte. He died at the age of 83 years old in 1710. Certainly, a priest that age was worthy enough to be buried beneath the iconic cathedral. Additional examinations revealed more about the life of the priest. When he was alive, Laporte amassed a lot of money. He financed the cathedral's choir, and based on his remains, he rarely saw the need to stand up. It was surprising that the man managed to live until his early 80s despite his sedentary
Dang, they going in on him. Surprising that he still lived.
lifestyle. What's more, his big toe showed signs of gout, an inflammatory disease caused by indulgence in food, extreme drinking, and lack of exercise. The second sarcophagus, however, belonged to a nobleman who died of a chronic illness. Number 2. Prehistoric movies. Have you
Hold up.
ever wondered when exactly did mankind begin to try and create movies and other forms of art and entertainment? Recently, archaeologists announced something that shocked people around the world. People in the prehistoric period tried to create their very own movies, but they're probably far from what you're imagining right now. In 1866, archaeologists discovered 50 limestone engraved stones, all known as plaquettes. It wasn't until years later that we realized exactly what they were meant to be. These stones were supposed to be a form of portable art. Between 23,000 and 14,000 years ago, early hunter-gatherers carved these animal representations into stones. Some of the stones depicted animals.
So what they do, they just sat in it and they looked and they looked and they looked. What? I mean, it's ingenious. It's very smart. It's like one of those, not an etch a sketch, but one of those viewfinders that you click it and the picture goes past. That's very smart.
Animals, including chamois, red deer, horses, ibex, and more. After examining them thoroughly, researchers noticed something strange about them. The stone showed signs of being frequently exposed to fire. Now, this wasn't supposed to be the case. It was then that they realized that the heat damage was because the stones were deliberately exposed to fire. This was so that the engravings on them would be more visible. Not only that, but the flickering fire would also make the lines appear as if they were in motion. How cool is that?
Now that's smart. You cannot tell me that wasn't from some higher intellect.
And now it's time for today's topic. What scientists just discovered at the Grand Canyon terrified
Here it is. Here's number one. Here's the topic.
the whole world. Carved by the Colorado River in Arizona, United States, is the Grand Canyon. This steep canyon is about 270 miles long and about 18 miles at its widest. Throughout the years, our ever-changing planet revealed several of its secrets. It's common knowledge that for the last 1,000 years, Native Americans relied on the canyon's blessings. Many natives used the caves and crevices along the canyons as holy sites and places for worship and rituals. That's why when this box was hoisted out of the water running through the Grand Canyon, many were intrigued by its contents. People believed that the box contained the remains of a Native American that once inhabited the Grand Canyon, and people feared that it would unleash a curse upon
That looked like a really big box, though. I mean, they need to put it up against something so I can see how big, because that looked like a huge box.
the world. When the tomb of Tutankhamun was discovered, the entire world watched with bated breath. Many knew about the curse of the pharaohs, and they knew that disturbing the tomb of one of ancient Egypt's former rulers would unleash a deadly fate upon those who dared. Many refused to believe that this curse was true, but some are adamant that was real. Perhaps this is the reason why many were hesitant to reveal what was inside the box. But do you think such curses are real? As always,
Yes. Yes. It may not be necessarily a curse, but a booby trap of something in there. Gases come out that hasn't been released in the world in 5 million years, and then next thing you know, it's not compatible with the air today, and it creates some kind of disease. So, maybe not a curse, but definitely something that we don't want to open up unless it's in a controlled environment.
comment down below with the hashtag today's topic and let us know your opinion about what we just showed on screen.
So look, guys, that's the end of the video. If y'all like the video, comment, rate, subscribe. What do y'all think about the video? So do y'all think that really some of these things are really amazing, right? Right? What have y'all came to discover? I think tomorrow I'm going to go to the we have this place where we have burial mounds here where I live at, and we have pyramids here where I live at. Very small in scale, though. I think tomorrow I'm going to visit some of them because I got some ideas. I got some questions. But anyway, thank all of y'all for joining me. Comment, rate, subscribe. I hope it wasn't too long. That's why I broke it down into 2 different sections. Make sure you watch the first section as well. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Peace.